Have you ever noticed that some of your greatest growth came out of your hardest seasons? That's not an accident. In fact, the story of Exodus begins not with freedom, but with pain. And hidden inside this pain is a truth that speaks directly into our lives today. The book of Exodus opens with a reminder Joseph and his brothers had died, but their descendants, the children of Israel, continue to multiply. What began as a family of 70 souls in Egypt had now grown into a mighty people. But what was once a blessing to Egypt during Joseph's time became a threat to a new Pharaoh who did not know Joseph. He looked at the Hebrews and said, "They are too many, too strong. If war breaks out, they might join our enemies." And so fear birthed oppression. Notice this. Growth often triggers opposition. The enemy is never threatened by stagnation, but when you multiply, when you step into your God-given purpose, resistance arises. Sometimes the pressure in your life is not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're growing. So Pharaoh enslaved the Hebrews, forcing them into harsh labor, building cities, making bricks, serving under cruel taskmasters. Yet something strange happened. The more they were afflicted, the more they multiplied. The very chains meant to crush them became the stage for their increase. Frustrated, Pharaoh made their lives bitter with ruthless oppression. But heaven was watching. This is God's pattern. The enemy's attacks cannot cancel God's promises. In fact, the very pressure of your trial may be the soil for your fruitfulness. What was meant to break, you might be the reason you grow stronger. But Pharaoh's fear went further. He summoned 2 Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, and gave a terrifying command. When you deliver Hebrew boys, kill them at birth. Let only the girls live. Yet these women feared God more than they feared Pharaoh. They refused to obey, allowing the boys to live. And when Pharaoh demanded an explanation, they answered, "Hebrew women are vigorous. They give birth before we arrive." Their courage preserved a generation. Here's the lesson. God honors those who choose obedience over fear. These women had no armies, no weapons, no political power. But they had the fear of God, and that was enough to stand against the most powerful man on earth. Sometimes courage looks like quiet faithfulness in the face of great danger. And Scripture tells us God dealt well with the midwives. He blessed them with families of their own. Meanwhile, Pharaoh's cruelty deepened. He issued one final decree to all his people. Every Hebrew boy must be thrown into the Nile. It was a dark time, a nation crying out under the weight of slavery, a people waiting for deliverance. Yet behind the scenes, God was setting the stage for the greatest rescue story the world had ever seen. Exodus 1 teaches us 3 things. First, your opposition may be a sign of your growth. Second, trials cannot stop God's promises. And third, God blesses the faithfulness of those who fear him. So when life presses you down, remember, heaven sees, heaven hears, and heaven is preparing a way of deliverance. This is just the beginning. Exodus chapter 1 ends with Pharaoh's decree of death. But in chapter 2, a child is born who will one day confront Pharaoh face to face. Don't miss the next part of this journey. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs hope, and let's keep walking together through the book of Exodus.